What's up, my ninjas? If you're looking at me right now, I'm on the top left corner right there. And the big face that you see in front of you right here, the big handsome face, I must add. His name is Yuri Elkaim. Yuri is a very good friend of mine, and he's a world-renowned natural health expert. And the one thing about Yuri that you must know is that his programs have helped hundreds of thousands of people throughout the world. And yeah, he's right in front of us. He's talking to us. I think we're very blessed to have him here. So Yuri, thank you very much for being here. Thanks for talking to our ninjas. And yeah, before anything, tell us a bit about yourself right now.
So the Coles Notes is I'm in my early 30s. I spent 24 years of my life devoted to playing soccer. My goal is to play pro. I was able to do that in my early 20s. And I was never actually really exposed to, other than playing soccer, my first introduction into fitness, strength conditioning, and natural health was when I broke my leg when I was 15. And that was my first introduction to kind of muscular training and starting to get into the gym and doing that kind of stuff. That really prompted me to pursue studies in kinesiology, which I did. And then I was able to play professional soccer for a couple of years. I then realized that there was something else I needed to do on this planet besides just playing soccer. So I hung up the boots when I was 24, came back to Toronto, and I studied holistic nutrition because I had some health issues that I was still battling. Low energy, I had an autoimmune condition, and I wasn't getting answers from the medical community. So I went back and studied holistic nutrition. I asked my professors about my issues, and I asked them if it could be related to my diet, because for most of my life, my diet consisted of breads, pastas, cereals, all the stuff that they tell athletes to eat, lots of carbohydrates, and I felt like absolute garbage. So my professors were naturopathic doctors, natural healers. They said, absolutely, we see this stuff every single day, whether it's MS, fibromyalgia, whatever it is, it's absolutely related to your diet in some way, shape, or form. So learned all this stuff, made some changes. Within a couple of weeks, I was feeling better than ever. Literally just, tamed my autoimmune condition, and the rest has been history. So over the past 13 years, I've been sharing, I've been sharing my message, the stuff that I've developed with, 70 plus thousand people, and it's been an amazing journey. So that's kind of the abbreviated version of my story.
That's very awesome. And one thing I must tell you guys is that Yuri is one of the most passionate guys I know in regards to natural and holistic nutrition. So yeah, I mean, the reason why we're here is because you're coming out with a cleanse in the new year, and I'm actually going to be putting myself through it and a couple of my other friends. For the uninitiated, can you tell us exactly what a cleanse is?
Yeah, so a cleanse is also known as a detox. Same words. The reason cleansing is important, we'll kind of backtrack and understand the physiology very quickly. Your cells, you have trillions of cells in your body. Each of them produce free radicals and waste as a byproduct of breathing and producing energy. So your cells need to get rid of that stuff. So we produce antioxidants to neutralize the free radicals, but we also have waste like carbon dioxide and other things that we need to get rid of. So the cells need to move this waste out of the cell, and it has to go somewhere. So if we look at trillions of cells in our body doing this, well, where does all this waste go? Well, the liver is kind of like the customs agent at the border. So it's going to deal with stuff coming in and out. It's going to filter the good from the bad. It's going to, if you're a terrorist trying to get across the border, you're not going to get through. So the liver, in this case, is going to look at toxins as a terrorist inside your body. The liver is going to say, hey, this is a terrorist or a toxin. We're going to get it out of the body because we know it damages important cells and vital organs. So your liver deals with all this stuff. Now, in addition to that, when you eat anything or ingest anything, all that food in your digestive system, before it even goes anywhere else into the body, it has to go through the liver. So your liver processes all this food, looks at the nutrients that it needs, it takes them, and it removes toxins through a two-phase detoxification system. So your liver is very, very important. It performs over 500 functions, and as you can tell, detoxification is one of the most important ones it does. The problem, though, is that in the world in which we live, with lots of toxicity, water and air pollution, chemicals in our foods, pesticides, hormones and antibiotics added to dairy and meats and our water supply, it's crazy. We don't even understand how toxic we are. And the reason is because I believe that there's really no definitive symptom of toxicity other than disease. So if you get colds and sicknesses, Well, there's a reason for that. It's not because the latest superbug is here. It's because your body is toxic and the environment inside you is allowing those microorganisms to flourish. So we've kind of we've been led to believe from this medical system that if you're sick, it's because there's a bug. But they don't tell us that inside of us, our internal environment is really what's most important. Because if 100 people are exposed to the same bug, not all 100 people will get sick. So why is that? Well, some people are less healthy internally than others, and they're more susceptible to having that bug become problematic inside the body. So toxicity is the foundation. It's kind of the root system of the health consequences we know of, whether it's weight gain, a lack of energy, cancer. It all starts with toxicity. And a very easy way to understand this is that if you have terminal cancer, if you have stage 4 cancer, you go to a doctor and they say you've got no hope to live, a lot of these people will start to seek out alternative cancer therapies, whether they be special clinics around the world. And in every single one of these cases that I'm aware of, the fundamental protocol they all use is detoxification. They all have detoxification as the fundamental component of their cleansing programs. And above and beyond that, they incorporate certain supplements and vitamins and stuff. But as a fundamental, must-do, it's detoxification, because these doctors know that it's all about toxicity. So that is why we need to cleanse, and that is the importance of cleansing. But I need to mention that I'm not a fan of cleansing. I'm not a fan at all, because most of the cleanses on the market are supplement-based. So you drink some special concoction, you make a special shake, you have some pills that have you sit on the toilet all day. That's pretty much the option. Those are pretty much the options if you go to the health food store or if you search online for a cleanse. I'm not a fan of that because it produces very, very short-term results. In some cases, they're not even healthy results. And what happens when you're done the cleanse? You go back to eating the way you were before. You end up, with the same problems. So it's not a sustainable way of cleansing your body. And that's why I'm not a huge fan of cleanses in general.
One thing I want to mention is the fact that I have a lot of friends and I have a lot of girlfriends, especially where girls that are friends. But I have a lot of girlfriends, and then they're like, "Oh my God, I gotta get ready for this vacation. So I want to lose 5 pounds right away. So I'm gonna go on the cabbage soup cleanse, and I'm gonna I'm gonna drink the plum juice cleanse. I mean, there's so many cleanses out there. Can you kind of run through what the main ones are and what the drawbacks or maybe even what the benefits are to doing them?"
For sure. Well, in general, I would say as a rule of thumb, if you do any of these cleanses, you will lose weight. And there's a very simple reason for that, because let's say you do the cabbage soup cleanse, or the cabbage soup diet. If you only eat cabbage soup, well, you're probably going to lose weight because you're not consuming many calories. I would say probably the most popular cleanse that I'm aware of is the master cleanse, or the spicy lemonade cleanse, the lemonade diet, however you want to call it. It's essentially a concoction of water, maple syrup, cayenne pepper, and lemon. And that's all you drink for 10 days. In addition, you also do salt water flushes, which means that you basically purge, by drinking a lot of salt water, you evacuate your bowels in a very unnatural fashion. So I've known many people who have done this cleanse, and including Beyonce actually did this in preparing for Dreamgirls, and she lost 20 pounds in 10 days. But she was on Oprah after, in the kind of promotion of the movie, and she was saying that it was the worst period of her life. All she could think about was donuts and the foods that she previously was eating. So as soon as the 10 days were over, and she was done the shooting she had to do for Dreamgirls, she just went on a rampage, and she gained all that weight back in a couple of days. Yeah. The funny thing is that one of her Hollywood nutritionists recommended she do the master cleanse. So it's pretty disgusting. I mean, what kind of recommendations are out there? So that's probably the most popular one that most people would come across, because it's going to be probably in all the People Now magazines and whatever. But there's a lot of other detox kits. You go to the health food store, there's a lot of, again, supplement-based kits that will cleanse your colon, because they tell you that you have all this impacted fecal matter that's stuck to your gut. It's like gum in there, and it's been sitting there for years, and they show you these images of this goopy black stuff coming out of the toilet. Again, a lot of that is marketing gimmicks. So a lot of the supplements are using herbs, different nutrients that you can find in foods, in everyday foods, and they're just telling you to take these supplements. Don't really worry about changing your diet, or they might say that, but they don't really show you how. and then you do some stuff. You might feel a little bit better initially, but then again, once you start the pills or the special shakes, then what? Right? You're back to what you know, which is the same way you've been eating before, and you don't really make any progress. So those are, there's. I don't want to bash cleanses specifically because there's obviously they've helped people around the world, but I firmly believe that basing a cleanse on a powder or a pill or some kind of quick fix like that isn't the best way to do it.
It's funny that some of the marketing that's used towards the cleanses is a lot of fear mongering. I mean, it's a lot of like scaremongering. But when it comes to, we were talking about how food can somewhat make you toxic as well. Can you kind of go over the fact? I remember you said that you're eating pastas and you're eating all these types of foods that are actually making your body toxic. Can you go over what those foods were and how they affect your body?
Yeah, so I grew up on a diet that was really, just to give you a couple examples of my day, it would be I'd wake up in the morning, I'd have like eggs and toast. At school, I would have like a chicken burger and french fries. I'd come home from school and watch Young and the Restless. And I would have hot dogs and chocolate milk.
I want to make sure that no one holds that against Yuri. The fact that he watches
it's one
that.
of my damaging ambitions. I used to watch YNR. I don't know why, but
Wow.
in between soccer practices. So I would have chocolate milk and hot dogs after school, and then I'd have pasta, for instance, for dinner. And that, when you consume that kind of food for 20 years, it definitely has an impact on your body. And in my case, more so than in some other people. I mean, some other people don't exhibit, any issues until they're later in life. I mean, I've worked with the University of Toronto men's soccer program for 7 years as a strength conditioning coach and nutrition coach there. And I can't tell you how many of the guys, they'll go to McDonald's after practice, during road trips and stuff. It's disgusting. Mm. But thankfully, what I'm most proud of is over the 7 years, I've slowly but transitioned a lot of their thinking into going to the vegetarian restaurants to grab a smoothie or a green juice. And that's something I'm really proud of to kind of give them the education as to why a lot of these foods are damaging. So, for instance, like pastas and wheats and grains, they're not so much toxic in the sense of their components, but they're very problematic because they're very allergenic. What that means is that, for instance, the human body hasn't really evolved to digest grains. So we know that gluten is a protein in wheat and a lot of other grains that's very problematic for human health, and it's associated with leaky gut, food allergies, autoimmune disorder, brain moods, all sorts of mood disorders, all sorts of stuff. So when you consume when your diet is heavily based around that, your level of health is very different from somebody who's not eating gluten. So, for instance, gluten and wheat in general is pro-inflammatory, so it creates inflammation in the body. Inflammation, we talked about toxicity being a foundation of disease, inflammation goes hand in hand with that. So if you are inflamed, so if you cut yourself, your body produces acute inflammation to repair the damage. Systemic inflammation is like that, but all throughout your body. And when you do that for a long time, that is when we start seeing things like Alzheimer's and dementia, which, by the way, do not exist in third world countries. The 6th leading cause of death in North America is dementia and Alzheimer's. Meanwhile, it's not even in the top 20 in third world countries, which is crazy. So obviously they're doing things differently than us. One of those things is obviously they eat cleaner foods. They obviously have their issues, but that's interesting to know. Cardiovascular disease, we know, is related to inflammation. So if you have inflammatory markers in the blood, that scars your blood vessels, leads to plaque development and so forth. Inflammation is heavily related to diabetes, cancer, pretty much weight gain as well. So there's a lot of things that come about just from eating grains, for instance. Okay, we haven't even talked about like meat and dairy, which, if they're grown commercially, are exposed to antibiotics and hormones that, when you eat that stuff, is coming into your body, right? So if a cow has been injected with hormones and you're eating that cow, understand that you're consuming those residues. And again, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but when you do that for years and years and years, these toxins build up inside of you. And the problem is that a lot of the toxins are estrogen mimics. So they mimic estrogen in the body. And for men, what that means is that we have higher levels of estrogen than we're supposed to have, and we're seeing a feminization of men. In women, we're seeing early onset of puberty. So as early as 8 or 9 years old now, and my brother, he was in Australia a couple months ago. He went to see a naturopath because he had some anxiety issues. This is one of the top naturopathic doctors in Australia. He had a blood test done. He found that his estrogen levels were 3 times higher than normal. So what did he do? Well, he started doing some of the stuff we talked about in our cleanse, basically cleaning up his diet, which naturally cleanses his liver. The liver is important for metabolizing hormones, so he was able to really rectify and balance out all that stuff pretty naturally. So that was pretty amazing. But there's stuff that's happening in our food supply that we have no idea about. And a lot of us, we understand pesticides and so forth. Excuse me. The problem with a lot of these toxins is that they're fat soluble. So they tend to reside in your fat cells. And because your nervous system is 90% fat tissue, they tend to set up base camp in your nervous system as well. So we now have seen, for instance, that pesticides are heavily linked to Parkinson's. There was a study done in the Bordeaux region in France where they just surveyed people living in that area who were living around vineyards and found that those exposed to pesticides just in the air had a 2.5 times likelihood or greater increase in the development of Parkinson's.
Wow.
It's crazy. And science has now shown what these pesticides do at the cellular level, like what they're doing between neurons and with the neurotransmitters and stuff. So it's not just like we're making this stuff up. We know what is happening here. The Nazis used a lot of these chemicals in World War II. It's now in our food supply. So I don't want to scare. I mean, my goal is to scare people, but it's kind of the reality of the world we live in, and we can't escape this stuff, right? So we just have to fortify our defenses to be able to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just common sense. I mean, what's happening with North America right now, with the obesity crisis that we're kind of facing, and the fact that more than the average of people in the world, or actually in North America or in first world countries, are overweight or obese, and it obviously ties back to our food supply. I mean, it doesn't tie into like even inactivity. It actually ties into the food that we're eating and the amount of food and the type of food that we're eating as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you were in Asia, like last year, and you can see it firsthand, right? And we've seen that people that move from those countries to North America, they come over, they're relatively healthy, they're not overweight, and then they come over here, and then boom, they have type 2 diabetes within a couple of years.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
It's crazy.
Okay, so you know what? Enough of talking about the scary stuff right now. About the cleanses. So what is the benefit to doing a cleanse? Actually, what are the benefits? What are the main benefits to doing a cleanse?
So the main benefits of doing a cleanse is really about restoring the health of your internal environment. So it's looking at, okay, well, we have your liver, which is really important. How do we support your liver and detoxify it from all the junk and the chemicals and the toxins that it's been dealing with? And how do we do that at the cellular level as well? So we have these main detoxification avenues, but then we have all this waste. So how do we get it out of the body? Okay, because it's like if you had a garbage strike and you were forced to keep all the garbage in your house for several weeks, right? That's obviously going to become a problem. How do you get that garbage out of your body like you would out of your house? Because the same thing in that case with your house storing garbage is happening to a lot of people if they're constipated. So if you're constipated and you're not passing 2 to 3 healthy bowel movements per day, a lot of that toxicity is sitting in there. So we need to look at how do we improve bowel movements? How do we improve natural kind of bowel flow? And how do we cleanse your liver and cells and pretty much all the systems in your body at the same time? And the best way to do that is through food. Because if you look at the back of the ingredient list of any of these cleanse pills, for the most part, most of them contain nutrients that you can find in everyday foods. So, for instance, I'll give you a couple examples. The brassica vegetables, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, they contain incredible phytonutrients like indole-3 carbinol, which has been shown to prevent colon cancer. They contain very high amounts of organosulfur compounds, which are essentially nutrients that are very high in sulfur, and sulfur is very important for detoxification. So when you consume these foods, they naturally support the specific processes that your liver needs to go through to detoxify toxins, because it has a 2-phase detoxification process. And each of those phases requires specific nutrients like vitamin C, glutathione, which are produced in cells, all sorts of important nutrients that we get through like pomegranate, through artichokes, through berries. And when you start to understand how simple it is to cleanse the body, I look at cleansing as simply eating better, because cleansing is something we do on a daily basis. So why not support that process by just eating naturally every single day? And obviously there are times like beginning of the new year is probably a really good time because everyone has a higher degree of momentum or motivation than in the summer, for instance, to start something new. Now, I mean, January is a really good time to start something fresh because here's where you can start something that's a little bit more dedicated to removing some of these allergenic foods, to removing some of the toxicity coming from a lot of foods that are problematic to human health, and fortifying your body and reestablishing its health with natural foods that have just incredible nutrients for all of these different processes. And the benefit of doing that is that by eating better on a daily basis over a short period of time, you start to create new habits. You start to enjoy healthier foods. So when your cleanse, quote unquote, is over, what ends up happening is you still end up eating better for a long period of time. And we've seen that with like 20,000 of our clients now who've gone through this type of cleansing process. It's amazing. It's very, very straightforward to do, and there's no side effects. I mean, I shouldn't say that. There are side effects in the sense that if you drink caffeine every single day, if you're a sugar monster, if you drink lots of alcohol, and then we ask you not to drink those or consume those for for a little while, you're going to have a bit of a withdrawal symptoms. You're going to have detox symptoms initially. You're going to have a bit of a headache. You might not feel amazing the first day or two. And it really depends on your level of toxicity and your level of addiction to certain foods. But once you get over that hump, it's like get to the top of a mountain and see this incredible world of possibilities. You just feel incredible. You start losing weight very, very easily. And that's really why it's very important to cleanse. And if you're looking to lose weight, if you want to, it doesn't really matter what the health outcome is. If you want more energy, if you want better skin, if you want to lose weight, if you want to prevent disease, it all comes back to cleansing.
Yeah.
And we just show you a very simple way to do that.
Yeah. How often should people cleanse during, say, like a year's time?
Yeah. I think the more often, the better. Sorry, if you hear a baby here, it's my little guy, Luca. I'm just kind of rocking forth. This little bouncy chair. I would definitely suggest, at the very minimum, once a year. So January, ride the momentum, ride your motivation, do something right off the bat. And then if you can do something as well, a little bit, kind of, the same kind of structure halfway through the year, then that's great as well. So at the minimum once, twice is great. And then if you can do something like, intermittent fasting is a great idea, right? To do on a weekly basis. And obviously you're the pro at that. So these are things that you can do on a weekly basis. They don't have to be a total upheaval to your lifestyle, and they're very sustainable.
Awesome. Can we see Luca for like a second at all? Is he okay, or can we see him?
He's getting a little fussy.
Yeah, I saw Oscar before. I haven't seen Luca yet. Oh, there we go.
This is Luca.
Oh, he's cute.
Oscar, we have a 2-year-old. His name's Oscar. He calls him Waka. He can't pronounce the L.
Nice.
So this is Luca.
Awesome. Hello. All right. Now, Yuri, you're coming out with the Total Wellness Cleanse. I told you I'm going to be doing it in New Year. Can you tell us a bit about that program?
Yeah, so the Total Wellness Cleanse is essentially what we've been talking about, like cleansing through food, is really what the cleanse is all about. It's a 14-day cleanse phase. In that, during those 14 days, we remove the problematic foods, so the caffeine, the sugar, the grains, the dairy, the stuff like that, and we really focus on injecting your body with high-quality nutrition through foods that you can get at your local grocery store. So fruits, predominantly vegetables, some non-sweet fruit like berries, apples, pears, and tons of natural nutrition that you think, okay, well, how can I survive on this stuff? But the beautiful thing is that we provide you with meal plans and over 119 recipes, and we show you exactly what to eat and when, so you don't feel overwhelmed, you don't feel lost. And each of the recipes are very, very straightforward to make. For the most part, I would say about 80% of the recipes take less than 10 minutes to make. The other 20% take a little bit longer, simply because, for instance, like with our black bean chili, you prepare it, put it in the pot, and then it just sits there for an hour or two. So you're not really making that stuff for 2 hours. So we have a lot of soups, chilies like that, like ratatouille, vegetable tagine. We use quinoa a little bit. Just some incredible, incredible dishes. So we call it the most delicious and simple way to lose weight and rid your body of toxins. And that's really how we do that through foods, because as we teach you in the cleanse, there are nutrients that you're getting through all these foods that naturally detoxify your body. And we've done this with tens of thousands of people already, and every single time, if they follow the plan, they see incredible results. And it's unbelievable. But in addition to the meal plans and the plan itself, the recipes and so forth, we're really big into education. So we actually give you a lot of tools to help you understand how your body works, how it detoxifies. We show you how to assess your own health based on looking at your tongue, different markers on your body, what that means about different systems in your body. So we take the knowledge that we know as nutritionists and we're imparting it onto you as the individual so you can take better control of your health. So it's an amazing, amazing journey. Again, this is the only food-based cleanse on the market. There's no pills, no supplements, nothing like that. And we're with you every step of the way. We have a special closed group on Facebook where we support you, several times a day. We send you daily coaching emails. There's really no other option as far as I'm concerned with respect to cleansing.
Yeah, and honestly, one of the things that I love about the cleanse is the fact that it is food based. The fact that you're not going to be injecting all these stupid pills and concoctions into your body. It is just really food based, and the fact that you're going to be almost changing from eating unnatural food, say during the Christmas time and New Year's, to actually eating real food.
Yeah.
I think that's just going to be beneficial in general, just to even say lose weight, gain more energy.
It's one of the most common things we hear about is people lose. I even lose 5 pounds of unnecessary weight.
Yeah.
I'm not a very fat guy, obviously, but you'll lose if you're a guy who doesn't want to lose weight. You'll lose a couple, 2 to 5 pounds of just unnecessary weights that just doesn't need to be there. For people who need to lose more weight, it just naturally comes off as you get rid of all that gunk out of your body.
It's funny how eating real food actually does that to you, right?
It's funny, isn't it?
So yeah, you know what? Yuri's being awesome. You're hooking us up with a free report, which I'm going to be sending you guys through email. And Yuri, before we cut off this interview, do you want to say anything to my ninjas right here?
I just want to thank you for all the great work that you do, and you obviously impart some amazing wisdom for your ninjas as Mr. Sensei, or however you call yourself. But I just want to impart the message that no matter what you've done in the past, if you failed or succeeded, every year, every day is a new chance, every day is a new dawn, and it's an opportunity to move forward, right? And if you want to change your current state, if you want to become healthier, then you can do things today to help you become that. And it's the sky's the limit, right? So don't let anyone tell you that you're crazy or you can't do something, because you can. And you just need the proper system, the proper coaching, and the supports to help you do that. So that's what I'm hoping that we can provide for you.
Awesome words. And Yuri, thank you very much for getting on this. We really appreciate it. And it's your boy Dan. And this is your Metabolic Mondays interview. And honestly, I had tons of fun. And Yuri, again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.